Hi, this is Judy from Fox City's Quilt Company, and this is Sunday from the Sewing Room, where we give you tips, tricks, and a few tutorials to help you with your sewing and quilting projects. If you like our videos, please hit the subscribe button below. Today we're continuing on with our lesson on curve piecing. So remember I showed you Posh Santa in the background there. He's so cute. I did a couple other curve piecing projects, and last week we worked on the leaves for the pattern that we're working on called Mimi's Lemons, and this is a pattern from Cotton and Joy patterns. It's really super cute. It gives you all kinds of layouts, sizes that you can do, and what's best about it is you can use your scraps. So I have a whole bunch of scraps of my yellow that I'm going to use for the lemons this week. Last week I used a whole bunch of scraps of my green, and then I have my background fabric. But I wanted to brush up on what we did. We worked on just the leaves because I felt like they were kind of simpler. And we worked with two templates from the pattern. The template B, which was the leaf shape, and then the template C, which we put on both sides of that leaf, and then we trimmed it up to the size that we're going to need to in order to complete our quilt. So now we are going to be adding in this template A, and that's kind of the quarter circle, and that is what is going to make, I'm going to show you closely, this block right here on your lemon. So I wanted to show you how I do that. Again, I cut my scraps to the size as indicated in the pattern, but remember, I like to cut my background squares a bit bigger, and I usually cut them a 1/2 inch to 1 inch bigger so that I have something to trim up. I'd rather have more to trim off than not enough so that I can make that square perfectly square. So let me show you how I did that. Let's get started. So last week I showed you all kinds of tools that you could use in order to cut your templates. And I determined that the QCR mini ruler from So Kind of Wonderful was the best one to use. I'm sorry about the glare on there. Let me hold that up closer. And you can see that it's a great ruler, and So Kind of Wonderful has some really amazing patterns. So this isn't just a one-trick pony. You can find all kinds of uses for this. And if I looked on here and I lined this up, I can see that this will be absolutely perfect for, I'm going to turn this light off because I think this is just obstructing our view. This will be perfect for cutting that 5-inch square because you can see that lines up perfectly in there. So I'm going to take this away and the template away because I know that this is going to work. Let me just peek one more time. And this will be from corner to corner on that 5-inch square. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to pull one of my 5-inch squares. Actually, I have two here. And what's nice about this is the fact that it doesn't matter which way you turn it. You can cut two at a time if you're careful. And don't forget, I really starched these fabrics. They're pretty stiff. So they're easier to sew that and cut that way because you're going to be sewing on the bias and there's a lot of stretch. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay my quick curve ruler on here from corner to corner. And I want to make sure that I have that lined up really nicely. And again, this glare from this light, so I'm going to turn this light off. So, and it looks like I should turn this light off as well so that you can see that. And I'm sorry that I don't have better lighting for you. Let me move another light down so that I'll see if that helps us at all. And what I'm going to do now, oh, that's better. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut around that curve with my rotary cutter. And I might just turn this way to make it easier for me. So again, I have it down on this corner, and I'm going to move this around to that corner, and I'm going to cut all the way around. So, and again, I'm cutting two at a time. If it doesn't cut down in this lower part, I'm going to go ahead and just snip that off with my scissors, but look, that cut really nicely. So I'm going to lay that on my template just to make sure, and that looks really good. So I have a few hairs there, but that's really, really good. So I'm going to end up cutting several of those, but I'm going to show you one more time how I did that. So that's 2 of that one, and I'm going to find another scrap, some other scraps here. I like this one. I'm going to cut 2 of those. And so I'm lining these up because I'm going to cut 2 at a time. I'm going to cut several of these because I am making that table runner. And let me show you again how I'm lining that up, because we're going to make an entire lemon today. I'm kind of excited about this. I think this is going to be so cute. So I'm going to line that up corner to corner, and I'm going to just cut all the way around there, and I'm dragging it back down to make sure I get that corner cut. And I didn't quite get that one, so I'm just going to cut that off. So there is 4 of them. I might as well cut a few more here so that we have a good representation. Okay, here is another set of 2 that I'm going to cut. I'm just going to cut 2 at a time. It makes life very easy. And so if I turn that on point, and I can line that curve up on the edge, and here I go. And I'm going to bring this back down to make sure I got that. And I did. So there's 6, and why not do 2 more? And here is, I might as well do 8. And again, I'm going to turn that on point, lay this down edge to edge, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Okay, so I have cut several of these now, and those will work out really nicely. That one has a little, I'll probably go press that out. And so I am ready to make the quarter circles of this. So that is my lemon. Now I have to cut that background, and let me pull that background template for you, which was for fabric or template B. I put it down and I don't know what I've done with it, but we're going to go ahead and cut that template B from the background. Oh, here it is. You should see me. If the camera was all over, you'd see papers and everything fly everywhere. It's template C, actually. So this is the template I'm going to cut. And again, I'm still going to use this quick curve ruler, because if you can see this, it lines up really nicely with that curve. And I know that if I do this right, I can put this line right on the edge of my background. And let me show you what I'm talking about. And remember, I like to cut these a little bit bigger, and because this is a white and a solid, I can go ahead and I can cut 2 at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 at a time. And I am going to lay this edge right here along this line. And I am going to go ahead and cut around here all the way across. I'm going to turn this on point again, so it makes it a little easier for me to cut. So I'm laying this line right along this edge, and I want to cut all the way around. And as you can see, that gives me a whole lot to trim up on this outside edge. And that's what I want. When it comes to curved piecing, I want to make sure that I have a margin of error. And when you can square them up nicely, it's so much more fun. And then I didn't cut that one edge, so I'm going to just stick my rotary cutter in there and finish that off. Okay, so here is that curve. You can discard these, or you can make something else with them, but I'm going to go ahead and throw that away. And what I want to make sure is that that curve matches up, and look at how nice that is. That matches up perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut more of these. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you how to do this template, or quarter circle template. We're going to make at least 2 of them. And then we're going to take 2 of my just squares and we're going to make a lemon. So let me get more of these cut and I'll meet you back at my sewing room or my sewing machine. Okay, so before I take you to my sewing machine, I forgot to show you a step. So I'm backing up here and I am back at my cutting table. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we pin these. So again, I am going to take my background piece and I'm going to fold it so that the curve is all lined up with the edge. So you see how that works there? This is lined up edge to edge, and so is this. And I'm going to go ahead and finger press that. And hopefully you can see this crease on the top. You can. Let me turn on another light and make sure that you can see that. I'll turn this light back on now. Okay, so that's much better. So you can see that I have that finger press crease. Now I'm going to take one of my lemon or my yellow quarter circles, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the very same thing with this. And because I'm working with solids here, it doesn't matter which side this is on. So now I have that crease, and you can see that, and I'm going to line it up with that crease that I made on my background, and I'm going to pin that. So now what we do is we just ease this around and make sure that you're not pulling on it. Let me show you that. And I'm just going to keep pinning all the way around. I'm going to do a couple of these and ease it around. And I'm going to pin it. And don't forget, my handy dandy stylus comes in great. Works great when I'm putting this through my sewing machine. And I'm going to pin this here. And this is where I'll use that stylus. I'll show you that again when I go to my sewing machine. And I'm going to go ahead and pin and make sure that you don't have any puckers. So that's going to lay nice and flat in the back. And let me show you all the way around. And if it's a little off, remember, I made my background bigger so that I can square that up nicely. So I'm going to ease that around. And remember not to pull because you're working on bias and you don't want to distort your lemon. And I'm going to go ahead and I think that I shall pin this one as well. And right there. So I'm going to do that to a couple of these, and I'm going to take you over to my sewing machine and show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about my stylus, and then we'll get these sewn up and we're going to put together a lemon. Okay, so I'm at my sewing machine and I have my 2 pattern pieces, my 2 templates all pinned together, making sure I don't have any puckers, and it's all centered up. And remember my Aunt by Annie stylus that I use. I love this thing. And I'm going to get started with that. Don't forget, and I'll try not to get my hand in the way here too, but don't forget, pull your pins out as you go because pins are pedestrians and we do not want to run them over. I've lowered my stitch length to like a 1.8 because I'm sewing on the bias. And so I'm going to get started. I'm using gray thread. I would normally use white thread on this, but I'm going to use gray thread so that you can see what I'm doing. And so I got that in there and I'm just going to ease that right around. And I'm going to pull these pins out as I go. I love this stylus because it helps me move things through. And see where this pucker is? This is going to just ease right in there. And I assure you that will not pucker. I want to pull that out so I don't run my pin over. And I'm going to do this a couple of times with 2 different pieces because we need 2 of these in order to make the lemon. And this is so easy to do. It's a lot of pinning, but it is a lot of fun because of the cool effect that you get with the curved piecing. You look like such a professional. I'm going just going to ease that right around and see where this end is out. This is where my stylus is going to come in handy again. And I'm going to ease that right through there. And yes, I know I have this little piece here, but that's going to go right in my seam allowance. Nobody will know it's there. And I'm going to ease that right in there. Going to remove this pin. Going to ease that right in there. And sew all the way through. Okay, let me cut that thread and I'm going to show you what that looks like. And when I open that up, we have that nice quarter circle. Okay, so I am going to do this one more time. I'm going to press this. It wants to go towards the background. So I'm going to press this toward the background, and then we're going to go and we're going to square this up. Okay, so I sewed several of these quarter circles, and I wanted to show you they are nice and smooth on the back. Remember that little hiccup I had, I just cut that out there. And I want to go ahead and I carefully check to make sure that there's no yellow peeking out from behind this white, because I don't want any yellow shadow. And again, I made several of these so that I could have some choices. It looks as though I'm not going to be able to use this one because look, I have a little pucker in there. So I'm going to set that one aside and probably redo that. But here's another one. And again, these were just yellow scraps, and I really like these. But let me show you how to square these up, and I'm going to go ahead and show you on this one because I have that little booger there, but it will still square up nicely. I started with a 5-inch square of the yellow, so I know that these two sides are exactly perfect. So I am going to go ahead and turn this and set this here at 5 inches. And so that my yellow is right under the 5. It's really hard to see on this yellow mat, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim this up. And we want to make sure that we're going to trim this up well, because I want that 1/4 inch here. And you'll see that it is just a 1/4 inch on that template. Let me pull that template back out so that you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and measure that for you so you can see. There will be a 1/4 inch right there left over. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim off these two sides. And again, I'm going to turn this so that I'm not cutting across myself. And you might be able to see that better. And then I get one side lined up and the other side at that 5. I'm going to move that up because I was off. And I have a little bit hanging over here, but I can trim that up, no problem. And I'm going to go ahead and trim here. And I'm going to trim here. Now I have to get this edge perfect. So I'm going to move this around. And I've got my 5 inches lined up there, and that is even with that. And I got my 1/4 inch there, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim off that side. And I'm going to do that for all of these because I need at least to, let me do that again so that you can see this. Let me move this around. And remember, I have it turned on point so that I don't have to cut across myself. Oops, 5 inches here. And I got my 1/4 inch over here, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off here and here. And then I'm going to swing that back around, and because I want that to be a perfect 5 inches. And I have my 1/4 inch seam allowance here, and then I can trim off that edge. And I know that that is my 5 inches. So I'm not going to want to use that other one. So this is what your template should look like. And you are going to need 2 of these per lemon. Okay, and so let me show you how that is going to go together. I have 2 here, and then I'm going to use the rest of my 5-inch squares, and I'm going to put 1 here and 1 here. And I'm going to sew all 4 of these together. I have put 4 different scraps together, and you can see now I have kind of my lemon shape. So I'm going to sew this one to this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and this to this. And then I'm going to press. I'm going to press to my solid square. And when I come back, I'm going to show you how to put those all together. Okay, so I have these all pressed. I pressed to the solid square this way, and I pressed this one this way, and I'm at my sewing machine, and I'm just going to flip this over, and I'm going to nest these seams so that they come together, and I'm going to sew, let me put you down here, I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance across there, and again, I want to make sure that my seams nest so that they come together really nicely. And let me flip this around. If you want to, you can pin in that seam allowance. I don't really like to pin if I don't have to, because I sometimes forget that and run over my pedestrians. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and sew that. And that did not take. So I got that messed up. So this is where some of my fabric crumbs will come in handy. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. This is always so helpful. Get this out of here. And then this will feed right in there, or it should. There it goes. And then I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam allowance. We don't need that in there. All the way down. And these should line up. And I'm going to grab Mr. Stylus so that I can make sure that that lies flat in there. Pick that up. All right, and then I'm going to take this over, see how those, when you nest those seams, let me show you that. Let me crumb out of the way. See how that makes a really nice seam in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this to my iron. I'm likely going to press these seams open so that I don't have a lot of bulk in the center. And when I come back, we're going to show you how this lemon looks. So I have my lemon all done, and I wanted to show you, look how cute that is. It's nice and scrappy. I like it scrappy. We can use our scraps from our scrap bin. And let me show you the back, how I press those seams open so that it will be nice and flat here. So this is it. It was perfectly simple to do. Just take your time. It makes a cute little project. And next week when you come back, we will be putting our leaf and our lemon back together, because I bet you're going to wonder how this little leaf goes on that big lemon. So join us next week, and we will be putting Mimi's lemons together. This is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, Sunday from the Sewing Room. I thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.